Right, so we got our second movie here that we're about to talk about. We have Robert Eggers directing his new feature film, Nosferatu, which is a remake of, and has been remade several times, and is a classic trope of the vampire story. This story not isn't necessarily about Dracula. Dracula does not exist in the story, but is about another notorious vampire called Orlok. And I gotta say, and I'll let Steven follow up with his own opinion, I think this might be my favorite vampire movie I've ever seen. And Robert Eggers, I think understanding him helps you understand the movie and his movies in general. Robert Eggers is all about historical accuracy. He only makes, or, makes within the confines of period pieces because he very much enjoys writing stories within the confinements of reality. So he's always, when he's making these stories, is hiring like historians, experts, and like does his absolute due diligence with his team to provide accuracy in the attires, the way they talk. He breaks down primary sources, secondary sources, and then even with how they shoot it together is they removed a segment of color within the full scopes of color so that it's not shot black and white, but shot up to, I think, like 5,500 hertz color. So I think it like right at green, it cuts out. So it doesn't capture all the colors. So they're shooting an interesting black and white. And I thought it was really cool how it felt like if this was a folklore back in the day, this is how it was. These aren't sexy, pretty vampires. This is a horror movie. This is gory. The Dracula and Nosferatu story is supposed to be a romantic. This back in the day, this was one of the early romantic stories. It was supposed to be romanticized. Like the vampire was always very sexual. So this is a very sexual story. So warning to everybody with that regard. Lily Depp really went all out for this role. Really crazy, interesting role, and speaks to the comfortability to get that sort of performance. But I had a really fun time watching it. The ending, a little bit of spoiler alert, doesn't leave you with necessarily the best taste in your mouth. But I think that this point of the movie is not to have, your necessarily hero's ending of, the man protects his wife. It's grittier than that. And I think Robert Eggers did a really great job. I really loved it, and it stuck with me for a while. I couldn't help but thinking about it for the weeks after that I've watched it.
Yeah, I liked it as well, and I agree just on that last point with the ending. This is not the hero saves the princess. This is not what this is, and the vampire's power and ability to just hold on to people and Lily Rose Depp or whatever, like it kind of made sense that she would need to sacrifice herself in order to rid the world of this greater evil, which she did mention earlier in the film that she said she was responsible for. So I think from a story standpoint, you weren't cheering at the end, right? But that made a lot of sense. And I really enjoyed it too. I think it is I really like the 1922 F.W. Murnau one. So I would put that up there with that. I liked it better than Werner Herzog's. I did feel that they really executed the aesthetics very well. My gosh, the lighting, the tone, the muted colors that you talked about.
Yeah, and I think like how they did these mini moments of magic and the mystical was very grounded, and I loved how like they would pan so slowly, and it just like built, almost the pans were my favorite part about it. It was like in each one of the pans that they did is so much tension. I think my favorite scene almost is them coming down that crossroad and with the horses. and it's just like this tension, and then the pans over to the door, and how doors just kind of opened up by himself, how like Orlok would kind of move around a room. It felt like they were trying to keep reality there. It felt like very much like what Tolkien believed in, magic in a world of storytelling, is keep it grounded, keep it minimal. Tolkien very much believed that like you can't get too gung ho with magic, and I think that they did a really great job in this one, staying grounded with the mystical and magical aspects of the story. I think that added to the eerie sense of the reality of it. And Bill Skarsgård, or who plays Orlok in it, is almost undistinguishable. I had no idea it was him. He did a fantastic job with this. Apparently, that was all his voice. All his voice, no help with that. They put some prosthetics on his fingers and a lot of makeup, but they were talking about how on set it was incredible, like how like all the actors were like, Billy just disappeared. Like the second they like started, it's just like kind of crazy, the idea of like this guy, and it's kind of like Heath Ledger feels like a little bit, where it's like they got so into the character that like I believe almost true artistry is invisibility, and we lost sight of the artist in Orlok's character. I did not see that actor. I did not see an actor. I didn't see Billy at all. I know him. I like did not know it was him.
Right. Yeah, and I think a couple things I just wanted to address. I thought this is huge for Lily Rose Depp.
Yeah.
I think this is anytime you can be a part of a film that is a piece of art while also succeeding in the box office. By the way, this costs around 50 and they're at 108 and above and counting. So that's a good double. I will say I didn't think she did a fantastic job. I thought she did a good job, and enough where certainly she will get more gigs from this. And shout out to her commitment, because you could tell, even if I wasn't buying certain takes or whatever within it, she was all in it. And I really, I appreciate her effort in that regard. And just like a couple little things that I really enjoyed, in addition to the aesthetics, the font was perfect.
Yeah.
I know it's silly, but the font was so good for the titles, the subtitles, the year later title cards, and then this was nominated for the cinematography and the costumes, which I thought was really great, and then a part of kind of the realness of this film, which was interesting. And I would be surprised if Eggers didn't know about this, because I bet you he got inspiration. But during Werner Herzog's film, he imported 11,000 white rats from Hungary from a lab, painted each one of them, so white mice, to paint them into brown, and then a single one didn't die, sold them back to the lab after the film. And
wow.
in this film, Eggers bought and used 5,000 real rats. So shout out to him. Shout out to the success that they had, like you mentioned, combining realism with small elements of fantasy and magical realism, whatever the heck you want to call it. It felt extremely authentic, real. This is a big win for cinema, period. Robert Eggers, I don't even know how old he is, but he's going to be around for a long time, because you can't make The Lighthouse in this movie without getting more gigs in the future. 100%.
Yeah. Oh, he's an auteur, and I don't know if I necessarily like that word. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I like that word, but he's definitely around to stay. Actors, I almost think I know William Dafoe is very responsible for this guy's career as well. He saw some of his early work and was right on board. He reached out to Robert and was like, whatever your next projects are, I want to be a part of it.
Wow.
So the way he works, actors love him, and people are willing to do or want the challenge of working with him. Robert Pattinson specific turned down one of his earlier projects, and he's like, I'm only interested in doing like challenging works right now. And so he gave him the Lighthouse role, and he said yes to that. But actors love working with him. He's an artist in how he works. I'd recommend, if you're interested in making movies in production, look into Robert Eggers, how he talks, how he writes. He's helped me out tremendously, he's a director to follow and watch, and look at his previous works. He's got his own style. He's bold. He makes choices, and I'd really recommend it. So I would put Nosferatu as like a 8 or 9, maybe a 9, because
It's an 8 for me.
Yeah.
It's an 8 for me, and I really is a win. I could even be swayed to go higher, but
yeah,
we have to cut this short. I got a call in literally 30 seconds, but that is Nosferatu. We were super stoked to talk with you guys about it. If you liked it, let us know. If you didn't like it, let us know. But until next time, Brian and Steven, signing off.
love you guys.